Welcome back to another episode of the Smokehouse Basketball Podcast. I'm your host Joe, and I'm with my good friend and co-host Sam.
What are you saying, people?
And back for another episode. And today we're going to be grading the NBA trade deadline moves, man. So the trade deadline of, I believe, February 4th, February 5th has now passed. No more trades can be made now. All that's left now to be done is maybe some, buyout market moves, which are yet to be seen. It was a bit of a quiet one, then out of nowhere, one domino fell and then they all started moving. But not exactly the craziest deadline that we've had. Sometimes it's kind of hard just because of some of the great moves we've seen. Last year we had Luka traded, so
yeah, it's hard to top that.
Yeah, it's hard to top that. But yeah, man, let's get straight into it with a man who was traded in the greatest trade deadline or trade move we've seen. Anthony Davis again has been traded to now the Washington Wizards, and I'll just go through what that was. So on February 4th, Anthony Davis, Jaden Hardy, D'Angelo Russell, and Dante Exum from the Dallas Mavericks has gone over to the Washington Wizards for Chris Middleton, AJ Johnson, Malachi Branham, and Marvin Bagley III. Along with that, we got an OKC 2026 first round pick. We got a 2030 first round pick from Golden State, which is top 20 protected. A 2026 second round from Phoenix, a 2027 second round from Chicago, and a 2029 second round from Houston. So, Dallas get off the Anthony Davis money. They basically officially blow it up, and it's now we're in the Cooper Flag era. Obviously, we still got Kyrie left, but that will be for another day to deal with, maybe in the summer.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah, so how I grade this from both sides, I think from the Wizards' point of view, I'm going to give it a B+. I want to give it an A, but the reason I'm giving it a B+ is because there's been some rumours about Anthony Davis and him not being happy about it. And obviously that's 2 trades now in under a year for him now. And obviously, if he doesn't want to stay long term, then you've given away some assets for almost nothing if he's not going to stay.
Yeah.
But the reason I give it a B+ is because I think it's a great move for the roster. Like, I'm not looking into this season because I'm sure he's probably not going to play. If already they haven't already shut him down for the season, I don't see.
Yeah, they shut him down.
Okay, yeah. So I don't see Trae Young playing. I know he's been shut down. He's now been shut down. But I'm looking forward to Washington Wizards, who, if we try to look forward to what their roster could look like, you're looking like Trae Young. Whatever pick they may bring in could go into there too. But let's say we're looking at the team without the pick that they can bring in, which is probably looking like a lottery pick. We're looking at Trae Young. We're looking at Alexar, Anthony Davis in the back. We're looking at quite a few young players that they've got who have shown some promise. Bob Carrington might come off the bench now. But I think a big three of sorts of Trae Young, Eva, Keontae George, whoever steps up more between Keontae George, Alex Son, Anthony Davis, I think you're now looking at this team as at least a playing team in the East. And again, this is all relative to the East, the Eastern Conference. The Eastern Conference, I think, the whole NBA world knows it's a weaker conference, for many reasons. But what it does allow you to do is think, okay, well, I can go for it more because I don't need as much to get out of the East as I do. So, yeah, they've got a really good shooting guard over there, Trey Johnson, who's lighting it up from 3. So, yeah, a potential lineup of Alex at the 5, AD at the 4, Keyshawn George at the 3, Trey Johnson at the 2, and then Trey at the 1. And then still with that, you've got talents like Justin Champagne, who's I think a really good NBA player. He's got his twin brother over in the Spurs. You've got Bilal Coulibaly, who's not had the year we thought he'd have, but there's still some talent in there. Still a lot of defensive upside. We got Bob, we got Cam Whitmore. We got some moves, and they're still going to bring in another first round pick this year. I don't know what they're going to do with D'Angelo Russell. I see him getting waived, but from their point of view, I think this is a B+ that could grow into being an A. And if you just look at what they've done from trading, they've basically gone from Bradley Beal into this. they've turned Bradley Beal into this.
Badly built.
Yeah. So I'm giving a B plus from them. Now for the Mavs, I'm a bit unsure. What do you think?
Firstly, I was in the B range for the
Mm,
Wizards as well. I went with a B minus. I just think the last couple years, obviously the two big moves you've got there is AD, you've
yeah.
got Trey. Both of those guys, like on their day, they're great players. AD for me, all time great in that position, but I think we're at the point now where one, he's past that peak, and two,
Mm,
just the injury concerns, man. I'm like,
yeah. Of course.
in theory, that team looks like it could work, and it could work to some degree. Again, I agree with your
Mm,
assessment there around like them being a playing team, maybe a sneaky, you know, exceed potentially,
yeah.
but I don't know. I don't know. If I was a Wizard fan, I wouldn't feel too confident in AD or Trey staying healthy, and especially in the case of AD, where you mentioned like it's the second trade in a year, how motivated he's going to be to want to play for the
Mm,
Wizards, and how motivated he's going to be to want to play for a franchise that has done nothing for a very, very, very long time.
yeah.
As far as the Mavs go, I think ultimately it all comes down to what they do with those picks. It's a difficult one to grade because I feel like
Mm,
in the moment I look at it and I'm like, all right, you've cleared the way for Coop to like just ball out and just be him, even though that's more or less been the case anyway, because you know AD's not been able to stay on the floor and Kyrie's been out, etc. I think I give it maybe a C plus. Like you've cleared cap space, but I'm like, what
mm,
for? Like, what are you going to be able to use that cap space for? You've got these picks,
mm,
but again, we know picks are only as good as the GMs that are using them.
for sure.
I think I give it like a C plus, maybe even a B minus. Actually, I give it a C plus as well because I'm just like,
The reason it's hard for me to grade it is it's hard for me to detach Luka Doncic from this because you've essentially
yeah,
gone from Luka to AD, who we know AD's upside, but we also know we know his cons and we know his pros.
yeah,
You know, so it's hard for me to look at this and be like, well, so this is what you got for Luka, because at the end of the day, Cooper Flag was not part of the plan when you traded Luka Doncic.
yeah,
Cooper Flag was a result of a failure, and
yeah,
you got lucky.
yep,
So obviously now you've pivoted, which is I think the correct thing to do, because paying AD the amount of money AD's wanting to get at the age, of 36, 37, with his injury history, just doesn't make sense. So for
no,
them, I'm sitting around a C plus area. You know, when you're building around youth, picks is everything. But again, as you said, picks are only as good as the teams, as the GMs that are picking them. So that's why I would grade that. Also, I'm with you on that. Moving on to another big trade, an NBA great, an NBA Hall of Famer, first ballot Hall of Famer, former MVP, who's in the last 5-6 years has just been moving and moving and moving and moving. We have got a straight swap where we had James Harden going over to the Cleveland Cavaliers for Darius Garland. How do we grade that? So Darius Garland, 2-time All-Star. One of his best seasons, he teetered around 50, 40, 90. He's had some injury issues this season. And James Harden, who's, had some issues with some GMs, had some issues with some front officers, left, wanted his bag, didn't get it. I personally like this for Cleveland because, unfortunately, with the cap, a lot of these young teams, and the Cavs were a young team, it's hard to keep it together, man. Monetarily, it's becoming impossible to keep these teams together. And I think in the summer, you had a hard decision to make anyway, trying to keep Donovan Mitchell, Darius Garland, Evan Mobley, and Jarrett Allen together. And there's still a possibility where you still may not be able to keep Jarrett Allen. I think, again, we talk about the East. This is one of those plays where it's like, let's just try something, because I think a lot of teams are looking at the Pacers like, if they can make a run, why can't we? And the Cavs have been one of the better teams, if not the best regular season team, over the last 3-4 years in the East. You know, they've fallen a bit short this year. And some of that is also to do with Darius Garland's fitness. He hasn't played much, you know, he's been quite injured this season. And if you know, for instance, that, okay, he's not going to be part of my season next year. So up to this point, he's played 26 games. You know, he's played 26 games. The Cavs have played 53. So what we're looking at, he's played under half the games. James Harden, for one thing you're going to get from James Harden, he's going to play in the regular season. Yep. He's going to be on the court. And I understand a lot of Cavs fans who I've spoken to are like, this doesn't make sense. You didn't get the value for him. I just think right now, value in the NBA is so skewed and just so... It's so wishy-washy because... Shout out amigos. It's because literally, like, the market is going to depend. It doesn't matter what the player is. The market... And we're going to touch some other guys who may have gone for nothing. Even some people that have been waived because the market is so weird right now. So if you look at it, the Cavs, where they were as a second apron team, I believe, they can't aggregate contracts. So they could only do a 1-for-1. If you look at the guards that were available, trade already been dealt. And I don't know if they would have done a 1-to-1 swap. I don't see that happening. Trade already been dealt. We don't really know whether Ja Morant... We don't know what Ja's value is. I don't like the fit of Ja next to Donovan Mitchell. You know, look around. I don't know if Charlotte tried me off LaMelo. You have to look around and think, okay, what guards are available for a straight swap? Because it would have been a guard they needed. Because I don't really like Donovan Mitchell having to play heavy minutes at the 1. Mm-hmm. So you could say, okay, that because obviously the age difference is 10 years between the two guards, that the Cavs kind of undersold, but I don't believe so. I think sometimes you have to look at your window now, and there's no one I'm betting my house on, and it might be disrespectful to the Pistons for how great they've been, but they're still young. There's still holes in that roster. They're not perfect. It's not the Golden State Warriors. It's not the OKC. I still need to see for me to fully believe. When we're talking postseason. We're talking in the playoffs. So I just think the Cavs took a punch, and not only did they add that, they also added Dennis Schroeder, who I love, and they finally freed Keon Ellis from Sacramento. You know, so that adds some defensive depth, and I just think Dennis Schroeder. When you let Dennis Schroeder come off the bench, Dennis Schroeder is one of the best backup point guards we've had in the NBA in the last 10 years. Yeah, it's when you try to make him a starter that stuff sometimes goes a bit iffy. And obviously that stint in Brooklyn kind of sold people a dream. And people have been trying to, get that version of him. I think Dennis Schroeder as a backup point guard, one of the best we've had in the NBA in the last 10 years. Yeah. So I think I understand the moves they made. I like it. So from their point of view, I'm giving it a B. The reason I'm giving it a B is because I understand it's kind of a win now move, but it's not a Hail Mary. Like it's not like you guys are definitely in the finals now. Yeah. It's not that kind of move, but I understand it. It's a ballsy move. I respect it. And also, I'm probably attaching the other things to it. I respect it too. However, there's no lying and there's no saying. We could look back in a couple of years and it could look like a failure because we know what James Harden's tag that's been given to him in the postseason isn't the greatest. But just to wrap it up before I get over to you, man, I think a lot of that is unlucky, man. If we look at Houston, you can say to me, okay, they couldn't hit a free against Golden State, but CP was injured, man. You have to look at those. Okay,
and it wasn't just James; it was the whole team.
Exactly. Then he got out of there.
It wasn't even a thing of like they were missing bad shots. Okay. They were missing great shots. They were missing the shots they should be taking.
Cool, and we can all agree towards the end of that, Houston were a mess. Houston didn't give him the help that I think someone of his talent needed. No, and you could say, oh, maybe the way he played was too heliocentric, all of that, blah blah blah. But let's move on. We've moved on now. We go to Brooklyn. I can't look at Brooklyn and say that's James Harden's fault.
Absolutely not.
Kyrie got injured, then he done his hamstring. He was playing on 1 foot, and KD was a toe away from still getting them to the finals or getting them past the Bucks. If James Harden is just a little bit more healthy, they might get through the Bucks, man. And that's
they
not
played
something that I
16
can.
games together.
Okay, and that's not. People want to blame it on him because he got a bit out of shape after leaving the Houston and stuff like that. But I just think I can't look at it and be like he's the reason. All the carry off the court stuff and all of that stuff. I can't look at it and be like James Harden the reason this thing doesn't work.
Yeah.
Now, at this point in his career, we can all agree he is now a tertiary star, a secondary star. He's not the main man anymore. He then goes to Philly. Embiid wins the MVP playing with him.
Mm-hmm.
He's altered his game. He's now more of a pass first guard. Guess what? His star gets injured. When it's time for the playoffs, his star gets injured. Cool.
Yep.
Then the Daryl Maury thing happens, and you can say what you want and say James Harden's this, James Harden's that. Daryl Maury has been known in the NBA to be a bit underhanded. You know, even the way which we'll talk about the things he said about Jared McCain, unnecessary in my opinion. But we'll move on. But yeah, so you look at that. Then he goes to the Clippers. Everyone's injured over there. It's a whole mess. The Kawhi stuff, under the table stuff, blah blah blah. And what's recently come out is that the Clippers wanted to move off him. They made it seem like that James Harden asked out. They told him, "Listen, man, we can't guarantee your money. We're trying to blow this thing up." You see, they moved Zubac after. They made it seem like Harden was the one that broke this thing up, but it was above him. It was above him.
Yeah,
It was a business decision. I just think if you look at the context, man, I think a lot of James Harden's career moves with context don't look that bad. But yeah. I'm grading it from the Cav side of B.
Honestly, a little higher on it. I've got it at like an A minus kind of grade. I think a lot of what has been said about Harden, and I've been critical of Harden in the playoffs before. I think you can levy a lot of those same complaints at Darius Garland. I think whether it's the issue of like injuries, which again that's not his fault, but I even think in the games that he has played in the playoffs for the Cavs, he has been like, we talked about this earlier on in episodes where Donovan Mitchell has always shown up. He's always shown up in those big moments. He's always shown up in the playoffs, whether that was for the Jazz, whether that was for the Cavs. Darius Garland hasn't really. And this season where they needed him to kind of get them over the line, he's been not a great player for them. I think where we look at it and you might go, all right, well, James Harden is 10 years older and Darius Garland's got more of a future. I don't know how much more you get out of Darius Garland given the profile, or his player profile, given his size, given his skill set, and given just the general inconsistency of his player. Like on this day,
and he's been injury prone.
Yeah, and he's been injury prone, and I think getting someone like Harden, even if you're gonna take the notion of like, all right, well, Harden's not gonna show up in the playoffs. Him showing up in the regular season means that Donovan Mitchell doesn't have to play as hard, and he doesn't have to expend as much energy, and he doesn't have to be on the ball as much, and it means that he can be fresher come playoff time. And then add in, Dennis Schroeder as well. Again, you're on the money when you said like he's one of the best off the bench players we've had in the league. In the 2020s. He's been a guy that is an elite spark plug, and also a player that lives for the big moments. If you've seen him play for Germany, you understand what we're talking about when we say that. And again, Keon Ellis, like it's and on top of that, you've moved off Lonzo Ball, which again you tried that experiment this year, didn't work out. You moved off DeAndre Hunter, who again were two players that underperformed for you, and you got a better version ultimately of Darius Garland. Darius Garland on his best day is pass first, again can score, support that. You've got this version of Harden, whether this version of Harden is 36 or not, or however old he is, he's better at that than Darius Garland is right
I think
now.
at least this season, I can say, and you go from there. But on the flip side, I think it's one of those rare times where I think both teams did well. Obviously, in hindsight, those things can change. But as of right now, I'm giving it a B plus, a B for the Clippers, because you're clearly in reset mode. You don't have your first round pick till 2030 or 2031. You've moved off Zubac.
Yeah.
And which we'll get onto. We'll see what we're going to do with Kawhi later on in the summer, I'm presuming now. Some people around the NBA are believing that there's sanctions coming for the alleged under the table stuff that happened, all that stuff, trees and planting trees and paying people for trees and all this stuff. But we don't know what's going to happen with Kawhi yet, but it seems like a rebuild mode. And you got yourself an all-star caliber under 27 point guard. Obviously, He's not been healthy this year, but you rest him. You're clearly in reset mode, and you go again. I don't know if my only thing is, and we'll obviously wait to see. And this is why it was kind of easy to say Harden blew this up, because you guys were on a run. You were on a run. You were having the best run you've had in the NBA this season, and you've kind of blown out from there. That's the only thing that I think is a bit interesting. So obviously, in your last 10, 6-4 in your last 10, moved up to the 10th seed. You're in and around the play-in now. That's the only strange thing from them. But for the move itself, I love it. I love it for both sides. I'm giving it a B+ from both sides, man.
I mean, you could argue for the Clippers, it was like the fact that they went on that run meant that the value of those players was higher than it might have been had they tried to make moves earlier on. And I think maybe it was just a thing of like, all right, cool. Do we really think we're going to ride this wave of momentum all the way into the playoffs and all of a sudden go on a run? Or is this our best opportunity to get the most out of these assets? And I imagine that's probably the case. And on the point with Garland, again, him being 26, he doesn't even need to be your point guard of the future or the now. Like, he can, again, be another asset that you flip later on in the future if he gets healthy and he has a good stretch of games and you want to realign whatever timeline the Clippers will find themselves in. But yeah, I think it was a good move for both sides. I think I will say though, I don't like the Harden narrative that they tried to push. Like I've really got an eyebrow raised to the Clippers and Steve Ballmer, because I think a lot of the way they've moved recently is a bit underhanded. Like, you know how easy it is to push a narrative sometimes when a player already has a reputation, and I don't like the idea of being like, oh, Harden wanted out, and he's like, it was unnecessary. But yeah,
I just think as an organization they've had a terrible year. The Kawhi stuff, the CP stuff.
Self-inflicted though.
Yeah, it's been a terrible year for them. But but moving on to another NBA trade deadline move. We saw the Golden State Warriors finally free Jonathan Kaminga. They sent Jonathan Kaminga and Buddy Hield to the Atlanta Hawks for Kristaps Porzingis. How are you grading this one, bro?
I think this is a B+ for me. I think it's a B+. I think Buddy Hield is the experiment that just has yet to pay off. Like, he's just a player that, like, again, we spoke about this earlier on the pod before. It was like he's one of those in theory players where he should make so much sense for the Golden State Warriors. He should make all the sense in the world. But it just didn't work. And then the whole being done with the whole Kaminga saga is like, yes, finally move him on, let him get an opportunity to play, because it was just such a weird dynamic that they had going on there. And we know what Kristaps Porzingis brings them as well. You know, that ability to stretch the floor, protect the rim. He's a smart player. He's got that championship experience as well, at the expense of the Warriors, mind you. But I think it's a good move. I think it's a good move. Does it move the needle and make them contenders? I think that the question then becomes like how well he fits into that system and playing alongside Draymond, because I think one thing about the Warriors is they've kind of struggled since the Bogut days, really, to like integrate a center into that system and have them play alongside Draymond, especially someone like Kristaps, who will need a few more touches than the guys they've had on the ball before. But I think it's a good move. And I think it's a good move less so for what they gained and more so for what they gave up. I think just kind of like just clearing that off the roster and bringing someone in who could fit in quite well. I think it's a good move for them.
So what grade are you giving that, bro?
I said B+ at the start. I think that's
B+.
I go B.
I'm giving it a C. I don't know if I'm C+, C-. I'm just gonna say a C. Reason being, we discussed this on an earlier episode. This is finally the end of the 2 timeline nonsense.
Yeah.
Jonathan Kaminga, along with James Wiseman, should have never put on a Golden State Warriors jersey. They should have never put those jerseys on.
Facts.
Now, kudos to them, especially kudos to Kaminga. He provided value on a championship team. He'll never, ever have that taken away from him. You were an NBA champ.
Yep.
Okay. The 2 timeline thing that they tried has killed the Warriors. Yep. Has killed the Warriors. Okay? So, what you have now is you've sold Jonathan Kaminga at the lowest of the lows. You sold him at the lowest of the lows.
Mm.
You want to say, I understand what you're saying with the Kristaps Porzingis fit. That's all fun and games. He's played 17 games this year.
True.
Kristaps Porzingis is an injury-prone player.
Yeah.
That is not hyperbole, that is fact. Out of a possible, because he was on the Atlanta Hawks. The Atlanta Hawks this season, so far, at point of recording, have played a total of 56 games, 54 games. I'm going to give or take because of the trade. He would have moved. Let's say he's had 2 games where he wouldn't have been able to play. They played over 50 games this season. He's played 17 of them. He's not going to be available until at least after the All-Star break, I believe.
Mm.
You already got a Steph Curry injury right now. They are in constant win-now mode when you have Steph Curry.
Yeah.
This roster is not winning anything. Kristaps Porzingis doesn't move the needle at all. I can see them getting bounced out the first round. This doesn't make me any more confident in their ability to go any further. They basically have now got the Celtics front court pairing a year too late. They got an older Al Horford, God bless him, because we love Al Horford there. And they've got an even more injury-prone Kristaps Porzingis.
True.
You said enough on the Buddy Hield thing. I'm rating this a C. Honestly, I'm talking myself into giving a D. Genuinely, I can see a world where Kristaps not even on the roster next year.
Yeah, you swayed me.
His
me on that one.
I'm sure his contract is an expiring one.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it is. I think that's part of the reason why Boston moved him.
And then you look at it and it's like, okay, well, in that case, you've given away your lottery pick Kaminga, who you held on to for so long when he had high value, and you were like, no, we want more, no, we want him to stay, and blah. Then Jimmy went down, so you kind of had to keep him. But then he's come out and said things multiple times that I want to play, I want to go. So now you've sold him for an expiring contract. Okay, the only plus side is, okay, it's an expiring contract. Maybe, in the summer or 2027 or whatever, we look to bring in a free agent to, go again with Steph Curry when he's 38. But as of right now, I'm giving this a D. I think this is just, it's just finally ending a chapter that needed ending, but it was poor mismanagement of an asset from the Warriors. And I just think, yeah, it's a nothing trade, really. Kristaps Porzingis plays 17 games this season. I can't look at that and be like, oh, this excites me, Yeah.
Very, very fair, man. Very fair.
Yeah,
Save me on that argument.
Moving over to one of a lighter move, not as a heavyweight move, but a move I love nonetheless. Minnesota Timberwolves receive Ayo Dosunmu. Apologies, Ayo Dosunmu.
Mm-hmm.
The Chicago Bulls receive Rob Dinellam, Leonard Miller, a second-round pick, least favorable from Denver or Golden State from 2026, 2027 second-round pick from Cleveland, 2031 second-round pick, most favorable, from Minnesota or Golden State, and a 2032 second-round pick, most favorable from Phoenix or Houston. So 4 second-round picks, Rob Dinellam and Leonard Miller for Ayo Dosunmu. I love this for the Timberwolves. They've needed a guard. I just think he's one of the better role players in the NBA right now. He defends. He's got good size. He can probably guard 1 through 3. He can knock down a shot. It feels like they finally kind of replaced Nikhil. I think they missed Nikhil badly, but he's had a breakout year in Atlanta. So it's understandable why they couldn't keep a hold of him with the play he was showing in last year's playoffs. But Ayo brings in that, he's a combo guard, can play the 1 and the 2, defends well. I think it's plugging the hole of Nikhil. And obviously they did trade Uncle Mike Conley, but obviously he's been traded again, and I think he's going to end up back in the Timberwolves. So I love
Yeah, I
this for
think they've
them.
re-signed them.
Yeah, I love this for them. I think for the Timberwolves, I'm giving this a A minus, man. I really like it. I really like it for the Timberwolves. For the Bulls, I don't know, man. The Bulls. I don't know, man. For the Bulls, I say B plus, man, because you got a young player in Robert Dillingham who needs to play in a place where his mistakes don't matter. And obviously, if you're a Bulls fan, that's not great to hear that. Okay, well, that means we're going to be playing more bad basketball. But I think the problem with the Bulls is they keep trying to play this middle ground, you know. And even though I am actually a fan of trying to win games, but the Bulls don't have a roster to do that. They need to let players develop and let the young guys play, which I don't believe their coach has done a great job of.
Mm.
But, you know, he's an old school coach, you know, a college coach at heart. You know, I forget his name right now. But, yeah, I think bringing Rob Dillingham should mean that you're going to allow that more. Billy Donovan should be allowing more of that. You know, because I think there's talent there. I think the kid's very undersized, though. And I just think on a championship caliber team, which is what the Timberwolves are, it was never going to work for him. I really never understand these championship caliber teams going for these young prospects who have glaring deficiencies, you know, whether that be their shooting or their size or this, when you can tell this is a project and they go for them in the midst of knowing that we have higher aspirations. I never understand it. So yeah, I'm giving it a B. I'm giving it a B plus for the Bulls and an A minus for Timberwolves, man.
I agree with you on your grading for the Timberwolves. I think it's a really good move for them to get Io. I think he's exactly what they kind of need.
Yeah.
In a guard, and he gives them enough variety in his skill set to be able to use him in a number of different ways as well. But I think it's a really good move. I'm a little lower on the move for the Bulls because I just think it's another situation where it's like, oh, what does it really do for them? And I also think, like, looking at the Bulls, is it the best place for Dillingham to go? Because have they shown over the last few seasons that propensity for developing young talent and getting them to fulfill their potential? I'm like, I don't know. Is it just going to be more of the same for him there, just with lower stakes? I think it's a good move for the Timberwolves. It's a move in the right direction. I think for the Bulls, it's just like it's more of the same. You know, whatever keeps him in that 10 to 8 range, I suppose. But I like it for the Timberwolves. I think it was a prudent move for the Timberwolves.
I may even lower my grade because I tried to look at this move in isolation, but if you look at the other moves the Bulls have made, this is terrible because they brought in another guard. They've got Giddy on the roster. They brought in Anthony Simons, and now they've got him, and it's just like, where are we going? I think they got Colin Sexton now as well. But yeah,
that's a lot of guards.
But moving on, man, from the Chicago Bulls, another move that was made on the deadline. We had the New York Knicks picking up Jose Alvarado for Dalen Terry and 2 second-round picks and cash considerations going to New Orleans Pelicans. I really love this for the Knicks.
Same. He's a Knick player.
Yes, he's from New York.
Yeah, the Garden's gonna love him.
Yeah, hustle player, you know, I've seen him make big shots, but he adds a bit of more defensive identity, which I think they've lost a little bit.
Yeah. With
Mike Brown coming in. But, you know, I just think it's a nice player to add to the roster. He's home. You know, he's going to get the crowd going, as you said. I love this. I think I love this.
Loved him.
Yes. I think I love this for him more than anyone.
Yeah.
You know, but yeah, I like this. I'll give this a nice little I'll give this a nice little B plus, man. For the Pelicans, you know, they get Dalen Terry to 2nd-round picks, cash. Okay, whatever trade. Yeah, so whatever trade. Yeah, man, but I think it's a really good pickup for them. You know, I think in past years, his role has been, you know, they got Tyler Collett, who's done quite well as well. But I think last year or the year before that, they had Campaign, who, God bless Campaign and everything, but I hate watching that guy play basketball, man. I think it's a jump shot. I just think it's a visual thing. It's a visual thing, man. Like
He looked like he played ball in Tim's to me.
the guy's an NBA player, so like, bro,
Yeah,
you're an elite.
there's obviously levels, but
yeah, but
to
I
NBA
just
players,
hated watching it. And I think what I look at their guard rotation now. So you got Brunson, you got Josh Hart, who's combo kind of power forward guard, whatever. Miles McBride, Landry Shamet, Jose, Tyler Kolek. I like it, man. I like what they've got over there. You know, yeah, man. And it's a good move to go into the playoffs with, man. That's the kind of guy whose energy can win you a game.
Yeah.
So yeah, man, I'm grading that B plus.
Yeah, I agree with you on a B plus. I think for the Pelicans, I'd give it a C. I think it does. It's just like, okay, you made a trade, but yeah, like he's such a Nick player to me, and I think he's gonna be such a useful kind of energy boost on the defensive end, especially come playoff time.
Yeah.
Just bring some of that intensity. Hopefully, pull off one of his signature sneaky steals. Get the Garden going. But again, if I'm grading it for like the Garden and for him, A plus. For the Knicks, I agree with you. I'll go B.
Moving on to one of my favorite players to watch. Jock Landale traded from, I believe he was traded first from Memphis. Supposed to go to Utah, but before he was going to Utah, he then got traded to Atlanta, and he drove 4 hours to Atlanta so he could get some rest, so he could play Utah, and went nuts. He went nuts. Let me just get up Jock Landale's stat line for his first game, which was against the Utah Jazz, who traded him. So he finished with 11 rebounds, 5 assists, 4 blocks, shooting 62% from free. He made big free after big free after big free. I believe that is his career high. And I love that for him. I like him. I think he's a very nice combo center forward. High energy, high rebound. He can do it all. Good on the defensive end. I think it... I like what Atlanta are building something here, man. We'll see what they add as well to the in the off season. See what happens there. But I'm liking their current group of Jalen Johnson. Okay, now they've added Kaminga, even more athleticism. You know, you got Jock, you got Nikhil, you got the Dyson Daniels. They're going to get whatever wonderful pick that they get from the Pelicans.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. I think Atlanta have done great work this year. They've done great work. I give this trade, again, I'll keep you in P pluses, but I'm going to give this one an A minus, man. I really like it. Utah on the other end got Lonzo Ball and Cash, which they've already waived Lonzo, and the Cavs got 2 second-round picks from this. Utah again. They've made other trades that we'll go into. This is a nothing trade for them. You know, they waive Lonzo. That's cool, it's whatever. Lonzo, who I hope in the buyout market gets to our Lakers, man, because we need some defense. We don't even need you to shoot like that, because the Lakers have other shooting, which I will get you to grade now. On the deadline, February 5th, the Lakers acquired Luke Kennard and they got rid of Gabe Vincent. So we got Gabe Vincent and a 2032 second round pick to Atlanta, and Luke Kennard, who famously beat LeBron's scoring record in Ohio. 3-point specialist, is now a Laker, man. How'd you grade that one?
A plus. Listen, I give it A. I give it an A. I think getting rid of Gabe Vincent. A round of applause for Rob Pelinka on that one.
Well, I will never applaud for Rob Pelinka.
Yeah.
No, go on. I get you. No, I'm gonna let you because I'm my vibe is gonna be completely different. So go on.
Yeah, because like I think, yeah, they needed shooting, but I think if I look at that trade in isolation, I'm like, it's a good trade. If I look at it in the context of what the Lakers need, it's a different grade. It's a different grade because what the Lakers really needed was defense.
No, they need shooting too. It's in isolation. You know what? In isolation, A plus.
Yeah.
Gabe Vincent, with all due respect, bro, like what you did in Miami, you're part of one of the most improbable teams I've ever seen in NBA history.
Yeah.
Like you are a cult hero for Miami. What you did. But my God, you stunk for the Lakers. My God, you stunk. And you know what it is? He always looked upset because I could tell he knew he's been playing bad.
He looked so disappointed.
He
in
looked
himself all
so
the time.
stressed and just no. It wasn't great. It wasn't great.
He was the basketball embodiment of anxiety every time he got on the
Yeah,
court, man. You could
it's
just
what it
see
literally. You could feel that. You could feel the arena closing in
It's like
every time he had a
reading
wide open.
tweets in his head while he was playing.
It was bad. Yeah, so with that, and it feels like the reason that people are high on this trade is getting rid of Evitsa, which is so sad. Yeah, man, it is what it is. And obviously, the Lakers need shooting. They're a terrible shooting team.
Yeah.
Freaky shooting team. He's averaging, I believe,
46%.
Yeah, but it's on low attempts. He's not shooting
that's
that much.
But that's over the last 5 years, though.
Yeah,
I
he
think
needs to
it's
shoot
49%
more.
this year. Yeah.
He should be He needs to be taking 7 threes a game. Not shot attempts, 7 threes a game.
Yeah.
He needs to use his gravity to get LeBron, Luka, Austin Reeves, and others open. But so that's his isolation. If you want to talk about the Lakers trade deadline day in general,
Yeah, it's bad.
You're not any more athletic. You're not any more better defensively. But yeah, anyway, let's move on because this is not a Laker episode. Now moving up to one of the bigger trades. On the February 3rd, the Utah Jazz traded Jaren Jackson Jr., John Conchar, Jock Landale. So he went to Utah, sorry. So the Utah Jazz received Jaren Jackson Jr., John Conchar, Jock Landale, and Vince Williams Jr. And Utah sent the other way Kyle Anderson, Slow-Mo, Walter Clayton Jr., Taylor Hendricks, and Georges Niang with 3 future first-round picks. How would you grade this one for Memphis, and how would you grade it for Utah?
It's a tricky one. I think for Utah, I want to go like B plus for Utah. I think I don't know. It's a weird one because
it's an A for me, bro.
I don't see the vision.
Oh, bro, I see it.
But entirely, I don't completely see the vision. I don't completely see the vision. I see pieces of it, and maybe it's me.
Okay.
Maybe it's me where I'm just like I'm not as plugged in to like Utah's roster.
Yeah.
And what they've got going on.
Listen,
I love Triple J. I do love Triple J as a player. For Memphis, I can only imagine this is just like what I think has gone on in Memphis is I think they've tried to blow it up, and I think they haven't. They weren't able to move Jar.
Yeah,
I think that's the reality of it. I think they were like, all right, cool, this isn't working. There's no use in keeping Triple J if we're not gonna have this unit together. Let's blow it up. They found the home for Triple J, and then they couldn't find a home for Jar, and now they're kind of stuck. So I think with that context in mind, I think for Memphis, I probably grade it lower, and I look at it as maybe like a C plus kind of move. They've cleared up space. Whether it makes it any easier to move Jar in the future, I don't know. For Utah, it was unexpected. For me, I didn't think they were going to make these moves this soon. I thought they'd probably try and see how the draft kind of shakes out, see what they get, and then go from there. But I give it a B plus. I give it a B plus.
For me, it's a B for Memphis because I think it's exactly what you said. They tried to move Jar. Jar's value is, I don't want to call it negative value. I just don't think there's a market for him. There's no market for him. I think small guards are in the worst place they've ever been in NBA history.
Yeah.
Let alone small injury prone guards or guards with other issues off the court, blah, blah, blah. I think we're just in a weird area, space, time for those kind of guards. Especially when everyone knows you want to trade him. So they just did the next best thing you could do. Because you traded,
been particularly productive.
Yeah, because you've traded Bane now. You tried to pivot. It's been horrible. So nice blow-up mode. You got some picks, cool. B plus. We'll see what happens. For Utah, I've been a bit more tapped into Utah than you, bro. I can see the vision. So, right now,
break it down.
What we got going on here, yeah, in Utah, we've got. I'll start from the bench. Isaiah Collier, elite playmaking point guard already at this age. Yeah, Isaiah Collier off the bench as your backup point guard. I love it. Now, we go to someone that I think could have made the All-Star this year. Keontae George has been out of his mind this year. the leap he's made, he's cooled down a bit, but the leap he's made this season, elite. So on the season so far, almost 24 points a game, 6.5 assists, 4 rebounds, in 37.5 from free, almost 90% from the free throw line, 53% from the field. Elite. We know what Larry Markkanen's been on this year. Yeah? So we got Larry now going to be moved up to the 3. Yeah? We're going to have Triple J at the 4, and then one of the more talented American prospects at the center defensively, Walker Kessler. If you think about that 5 in isolation, yeah, we've got Keontae George, and then at the 2, you can see what we can do there. Whatever we're working with right now, I don't know if it's going to be, Bryce or Isaiah Collier can maybe start some minutes here and there. Maybe they draft someone. But also they've got Ace Bailey, who they've just picked up, who's looking like a promising young talent. We'll see what he's got left, But let's say we put Ace Bailey in, or let's say they get something in the draft this year. But let's say we'll go Ace Bailey for now because he's here. We got Keontae George, Ace Bailey, Larry at the 3, Triple J at the 4, Walker Kessler at the 5. Triple J and Walker Kessler as your front court defensively should be elite. Should be. I think, man, they've not been an easy game this year. They are tanking right now, and I think it's very obvious and nasty. They had a really good game, and then they just didn't play any of their starters in the 4th and lost by 1 point when they were up over 20 at 1 point. But this is what the NBA is. We move on. But I see the vision, man. I'm giving this for me because I think we overrate picks sometimes, man. Because we can. How many times do lottery picks not pan out? A lot.
Most of the time.
Exactly. Most of the time. So, and I look at it and be like, okay, 3 first-round picks. We don't know if they're all going to even be lottery. We don't know where they're going to be. But they're not going to be. There's a likelihood that they won't be a former DPOY, which Jared Jackson Jr. is, who gives you 20 a game. He can be a better rebounder, but he has a lot of offensive upside. DPOY level player when he wants to be. Bro, it's a no-brainer, man. You put that next to. You've basically got a sniper, a 7 foot. You're going to be able to play 3 7-footers at the same time. Walker Kessler, Jaron Jackson Jr., and Lauri Markkanen, who's giving you. He's like a walking 30 now. Man, I think the future's bright, man. I think the future's bright. So I really like this one. I'm giving them an A-. I'll give them, and then I will give Memphis. They got picks back. Yeah, we'll give it a B+. We'll see what happens. See what they can do with it. But I really like this, man. Moving on to some more quieter trades. The Kings got DeAndre Hunter. The Bulls received Dario Saric and 2 second-round picks, 2027 and 2029. And the Cavs got Dennis Schroeder and Keon Ellis. We touched on this before. We'll just grade this one. For the Cavs, for me, this is an A-. Kings, for me, I just don't know what the Kings are doing. I just give this a C, man. Just whatever. And the Bulls, they got some picks, whatever, it's a B. But I don't know what the Kings are doing. I genuinely just don't know what the Kings are doing.
The Kings don't know what the Kings are doing.
I genuinely just don't know what the Kings are doing, man. I want to be nuanced and think, okay, maybe I genuinely just don't know what they're doing, man. I don't know what they're doing, and
it feels like they're playing my GM for the first time.
For the first time, they're reading the rules as they go along. That's what it feels like. I have nothing more to say on that one. Just move on from there. Some more trades that happened. Nikola Vucevic finally got traded. He's gone to Boston to take up the center spot over there. And they did that in place of Anthony Simons and a second-round pick going to the Bulls. Anthony Simons come off the bench for the Celtics. Been elite. It's been a really good pickup. I'm surprised they let him go. I'm not surprised they traded him because they were never going to pay him.
Yeah.
This is just kind of just a stopgap, because we don't know what's going on with... Celtics are second seed right now. They have every reason to be like, well, we have to go for it. And I think getting a center made more sense for their team. With guys like Peyton Pritchard stepping up this year, and other players. I understand doing it. It's an expiring deal. It's not. I don't think Vucevic's contract is very, very expensive. I don't believe. He's going to rebound. He's going to score. I think defensively he will look better around a better defensive team than he has on the Bulls, and you're probably just going to see a better effort when you're playing for more. So I like it. I think for the For the Celtics, I'll give it a B, just a straight B. Um, for the Bulls, I don't know what you're doing. How many guards do you want on your team? How many guards do you want on your team? What is
Yeah.
the plan?
Also,
What?
it's you're paying 6 mil more a year for
Yeah,
Anthony Simons than you were for
I guess
Vooch. So it's
you got
like,
to reach the floor. I guess, but I don't understand. I don't know what they're doing. Yeah, we'll see what happens there. Another trade now to get back to Daryl Maury and some of the things he said. So in an interview, Daryl Maury, the GM for the Philadelphia 76ers, and let's go through the trade first before I go through what he said. They traded Jared McCain, who had a breakout year in his rookie season last year, got injured, and this year, with VJ Edgecombe getting drafted to the 76ers are looking quite good, and just lack of minutes, and he's been a bit injured as well, hasn't really played that much. He's been sent over to the Oklahoma City Thunder for a 2026 second round pick from Houston, a 2027 second round pick, most favorable between OKC, Houston, Indiana, Miami from 2027, 2028 second round picks from OKC and the Milwaukee Bucks. So, in total, 4 second round picks, depending on all these things, how they convey and stuff, for Jared McCain.
yeah.
Before I grade it, I want to go through what Daryl Maury said, and this is where sometimes I just feel like you can be an analyst, because his thing is he's respected in the NBA so highly because of his advancements in the analytical part of the NBA.
Yeah.
He's one of the pioneers, fair enough. But saying I think we sold high on Jared McCain when he's a young player in his second year in the NBA, it's just mad distasteful.
Really is.
It wasn't like it's like, you've had bad blood or whatever. It's just great, and it's just like, this is again some of the things you hear around the NBA is that people don't like him. He's a terrible people person, and this just comes. This fits the narrative. And this is why sometimes when things happen with people like James Harden, you kind of have to wait and understand, because this is a common theme now with Daryl Maury and being that way. But yeah, on face value, what are you thinking about this trade, bro?
I mean, I like it for OKC.
Yeah, love it.
I like it for OKC. I think it's such a good trade for them. He was prior to that injury last year, he was really lighting the league up. He's such a good shooter, and he's got a really good sense for getting good shots and taking good shots, and he plays within the flow of the game. And I think one of OKC's biggest Achilles heels is that they're a very streaky shooting team.
Yeah, they've shot poorly from three this year.
Yeah, and to be honest, they shot poorly from three quite often last season as well. It's just that in the biggest moments, they were able to pull through. I think in a lot of cases, some of the series that they were in, like Minnesota and the Pacers, were as close as they were because of their inability to make shots down the stretch. The guys that they've had to rely on, like Dort and Caruso, haven't always pulled through on that side. You get in Jared McCain for, again, that they've got a treasure trove of picks. For them, it's a drop in the ocean. I think it's a great move for OKC. And for Philly, I did feel like the trade I felt like it was inevitable. I think given how well VJ has been playing this season, I think like you were gonna have to make a decision at some point in time, and it was always gonna be harder for Jared to come back into that lineup and win that spot back, given how well VJ has played. So I understand it. I think what soured it for me is what you said, is the Daryl Maury comments. I'm like,
really unnecessary.
It's so obvious that you were facing criticism for trading him, especially trading him to the reigning champs, and you felt the need to justify it. And you could have justified it by saying, something as simple as, look, we didn't have space for both of them. He's a great player. OKC came in with the best offer, so we made the deal. That's what you had to say. That's what you had to say. Talking about we sold him at a high as if this second-year player coming off an injury has already peaked is rude. Yeah, and it's unnecessary. It's like, this is why, again, GMs and players in general you have to think about these things when you're a GM. Like, do people want to do business with you? If this is how you're going to move, will players want to go and sign for your organization? If this is how you're going to talk about them when they're on the way out? But at the end of the day, I think fundamentally, I understand it from a basketball perspective. I think it's a decent trade for Philly. I think it's a great trade for OKC. Yeah.
Yeah, obviously with PG coming back as well before he got suspended, it just felt like there's no space for him. But what I will say is this: the last time OKC picked up a guard that Philly didn't want, it was Isaiah Joe, who's been elite for them in tough moments. This is when reputation kind of precedes you. I just think it is a red flag for me to trade anyone that OKC wants. I just, especially as young as he is, with the run that he went on, that's not a fluke for me. That's just not a fluke for me.
No.
I think there's so much more to him. There's so much more to his game. You know, he plays the game in an intelligent way. It's not something that is relying on a lot of athleticism as well. Yeah, I'm saying I understand it from the 76ers point of view.
Yeah.
I'll give it a C plus, whatever. But I think this is an A minus from OKC for me.
Yeah,
this is an A minus, and I think you know, they lack shooting, they get shooting. He's young, he's hungry, he'll fit in over there. You know, get good energy. You know, I think they will obviously he'll need to get onto their defensive culture wavelength, but I think he can get on with that, man. They defend as a team there, so no one really gets left out.
Yeah.
I love it for him. I love it for OKC more than anyone else. But yeah, man. Again, Daryl Maury just unnecessary. But that's the way some people are, unfortunately. Now moving on. See, if there's any more big ones that we need to cover. Yeah, we got some little ones like Trace Jackson Davis to the Toronto Raptors. Golden State get a second round pick from the Lakers. That's not really anything. Yabusele from the Bulls to the Bulls. The Knicks got Dalen Terry. Dalen Terry then eventually got moved again. Again, the Bulls got Yabusele at the centre now. Don't know what that does for them. Don't see him being on the roster next year. I think what we're looking at now, Phoenix trading Nick Richards to the Bulls, so that there's a centre for them. I think what we're looking at now is maybe moves that didn't get made. So, names that were really high, like Giannis, Michael Porter Jr., they didn't get moved. And before we touch on that, actually, yet another big one, Evitsa Zubac from the Clippers to the Pacers. So Kobe Brown and Zubac to the Pacers. The Clippers received Benedict Mathurin, Isaiah Jackson, and a 2026 first round pick, protected 1 through 4 and 10 through 30, 20th round pick and second round pick. I love this for the Pacers. Zubac has had a really good last 2 years. You know, they got rid of Miles Turner, which turns out for me to be a good deal for them because Miles Turner's been underwhelming, and paying him that money when your star is out this year doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
The only thing I'm interested in is it going to be a good fit for their play style? Because Zubac, for me, isn't an up and down big or a stretch big.
Yeah.
So that will be interesting. However, I think Tyrese and the rest of them are smart enough to make it work. And he's just a good basketball player. And it kind of sorts out your centre for the foreseeable future.
Yeah.
Or for the Pacers, and, you know, especially because the Benedict Mathurin thing was something that we knew eventually is going to need to go. It's going to need to move. Getting the assets you got back for it, in Zubac and obviously Kobe Brown can add to your roster. I like it. I'm giving it an A minus, man. I think sorting out your centre is really good. And for the Clippers, you know, you got some picks back which you need. You got Benedict Mathurin who can, you know, add to your roster, and I think it's a good age profile if you're trying to reset. Yeah, I'll give them a B plus. I think I like it.
Yeah, I like it. I like it for the Pacers. I think to your question on how it works in terms of play styles, I think obviously you don't get the spacing with Zubac that you would have had with, well, in theory you would have had with Turner. But I do think he's great in a pick and roll, and I think Tyrese will make that work in some way, shape, or form. He might not be as up and down. He might not be the most mobile, but he does run a good pick and roll, and then he's also going to help anchor them defensively as well. So I think it's a good move for the Pacers as well, and I think it's a pretty good move for the Clippers. I mean, it moves them along in their objective of bringing some youth to that team, or bringing down their average age, again clearing off some of those larger salaries and getting rid of Zubac as well. So I think I agree with you on your grading there, like A- for the Pacers. B
Yeah,
plus B for the Clippers. I think it was just good moves all round. Getting the players that they need ready for the next season. Really.
for sure. But yes, moving on to some of the moves that we didn't see happen. Michael Porter Jr. is
Mm.
still a Brooklyn net. I just think he played himself into a place where his value is way too high
Yeah.
for teams to do now that would warrant a player of his talent. I think I think anyone that could afford him without gutting their roster isn't on that timeline. And
Hmm.
then yeah, but I also think, man, just enjoy yourself, man. Be number one option, get shots up, see what happens, and next year we go
Yeah.
again. Another one in Giannis. I just couldn't. No one has the assets to trade Giannis
Yeah.
that makes sense apart from I'd say OKC and the Spurs. I just don't see them doing that.
Yeah.
You
There's
know,
no reason for them to.
obviously there was rumors of Golden State. Draymond Green came out and said, he was told by the front office that listen, if a Giannis trade does happen, it'll be you or Jimmy that's going to make the money match. So obviously there's going to be talks, but again, Kaminga and whatever else the Warriors could have offered is nowhere near enough for Giannis Antetokounmpo. So I never saw that really happening.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, I think in total it was a decent trade deadline, a little underwhelming. I think a lot of teams didn't address what they needed to.
Miami.
Miami don't exist in trades. I don't know what Miami are doing.
I heard Pat Riley was in Cabo.
I don't know, man. Sometimes it feels like Miami feel like they're above the basketball norms.
I think that's absolutely what it is. I
feel
think
like
that's absolutely what
I
it
feel
is,
like
man.
they feel like they're above doing what everyone else does
Specifically
to
Pat Riley.
to make moves or trades or anything like that. I feel like they feel like they're above it, and it must be frustrating for a Miami Heat fan.
Therefore.
I understand not trying to be bent over backwards and fleeced and whatever, but man, the Miami Heat have been stagnant, stale for a while now, man.
Mhm.
Damian Lillard talk seems years ago now, seems like years ago.
So long ago. And he was begging to go there.
Yeah,
Begging to go there.
I don't know, man.
I think what it comes down, I think you kind of touched on it. It's there's a fear there of being swindled, and I think Pat Riley he's so old school. He's so Gordon Gecko coded, like where he's just like, I'm not gonna be out here made a fool of.
Yeah,
I'm not making a trade, for it to come back and to bite me, or for people to say I made a bad trade. I think he's so concerned. I think it's almost it's egotistical. I think he's so concerned with his presentation as a GM, as a no nonsense guy, that he's like, I can't be out here making trades that don't work out. We're gonna draft this is our culture. We're gonna draft our guys. We're gonna develop our guys. We're gonna compete. And then also, you've had what, two finals runs in the past 5 years without really having to do anything crazy in the
yeah.
market to get there. So I
So
imagine
it
there's a
supports
built-in.
his delusions.
Yeah, it supports it. It's like, well,
Yeah,
look, who else in the East has been able to be this successful outside of Boston or whoever that
yeah.
like we've been able to do it. We were the eighth seed and we
More
made it to
than
the
that, more than
finals
that. But they've been to the finals twice. They went
twice
against the Lakers, against the
and
Nuggets.
against, yeah.
Yeah, they've been to the conference finals how many times? But
I think it was thinking of in the last 6 years or 5 years. It's 2-2. I think they went to two conference finals, two finals. I
yeah,
think
man.
maybe one conference finals outside of the finals trips, but yeah, like
Yeah,
they've
man.
you know, I can understand it, but at the same time, it's like, come on, man, make a move like this, especially in a conference now where it's like it is pretty open. You could be
Mm,
one move away from being in the finals again this year, but at the same time, they might think maybe we don't need to do that. Like, maybe we just play good basketball and we play the Heat way and we'll get there. But to your points about MJP and Giannis, I think
mm,
for this trade deadline for mid-season trades, I think the prices would have been just way too high.
yeah,
Way too high, and I completely understand that. I also think for Brooklyn, especially with Porter Jr., let him keep playing. Price is only going to
yeah,
get higher. End of the season, teams will know where they are. There'll be a lot of teams that were contenders that did think they had a shot that it won't pan out, and they'll be
yeah,
much more desperate to make a move than they will mid-season. And I think you let him continue to play, you let him continue to show who he is, you get a full season of him as a number one option, and you can
mm,
get a lot more for him. come the end of the season. And I think with Giannis, ultimately the price is just way too high. It's way too high. He hasn't properly asked for a trade, and there's not enough time. There's not enough time in his contract for you to go and put all of those assets on the table to make that trade. If he had 3-4 years left on his contract, maybe we would have seen, if not a trade, but at least we would have seen like proper offers come in. I think teams are just like, well, he might be available next year in free agency, so why spend all of that? Why give all of that up to go and get him? But I wasn't surprised that he didn't get moved. I didn't expect him to get moved this deadline. I think it was just too unlikely.
Yeah. And that was pretty much the end of the deadline once that didn't happen. Yeah. But we've got some interesting buyout market moves because, and probably the biggest name in there, Cam Thomas was waived.
Yeah.
Waived by the Brooklyn Nets. We talked on Cam Thomas earlier in the season and just about how having to adapt his game and whether he'll be able to adapt his game. I never saw him basically just saying, listen, man, we don't even want to can't even get access back for you. Just go. Obviously, where this helps for him is, you now get to pick where you want to go. But there's a tag on you now. There is a tag on you. For when the team is saying, I would rather let you go than keep you on my roster and try and, make something off you. They'd rather let you go.
Yeah.
That's not a great tag. So, Cam Thomas, he's a bit of an old school player, man. About old school, I'm saying early 2000s to 2018 kind of player. Yeah. What I mean by that is, let's just look through his numbers. He's averaged 8.5 points per game his first season in the NBA. Then he's averaged 10.6. Then last season, 24 points per game. This season he's only averaged 15.6, but it's not many minutes. He's been in and out of the rotation. It's clear to see he wasn't in their plans from what they paid him last year and just the noise in and around his name.
Yeah.
But where I kind of feel sorry for Cam Thomas is it feels like he's been raised on the kind of basketball that, go get a bucket, you'll be fine. Put the ball in the hoop, work on that part of your game, you'll be like, I am a bucket. Why is that not enough? But the game has changed. Being a bucket is not enough, especially when you're a small guard and everyone's going to pick on you defensively.
Yeah.
If you're not an at least above average facilitator, which he's just not, it's not in his repertoire to do that. I just read to you his averages scoring throughout that time. These are his assist averages: 1.2, 1.4, 2.9. Last 3.2. Last year, the 2 years where he's averaging over 20 a game, which is showing you that he's having the ball in his hands quite a bit to get that. 3.2 assists, 3.3 assists. This year, 1.8 assists. 2.9, 3.8, and 3.1 assists. I can't give you the ball that much when you're not elevating others around you. And obviously, he's going to say, well, my teammates need to score. And I don't disagree. But there's no doubt in saying there's other players who maybe not score as much as him, but would elevate his teammates way more than he does. And I think it's going to be hard for him to maybe change his game because he's probably been doing it since he was 5 years old.
Mm.
And that's why I say stuff like being a playmaker is just as a niche skill to teach, and maybe just one of those things you can't teach. Like recently, there's been a clip going around NBA Twitter and basketball Twitter of LeBron 12 years old playing. Bro, he's 12 years old reading the floor just the same way he does now. And I think that's just something in him, the way he was taught to play basketball at a young age. I think Cam Thomas it's just a bit difficult for him to switch and play the way coaches and GMs are going to want him to play. And it will be such a shame if someone who's able to put the ball in the hoop as well as he does not find his way to have a 10 plus year NBA career. Because there's people in the NBA who can't put the ball in the hoop, even 10% as good as he can, but will have a longer career because they offer more to the team. I just hope he finds a way to kind of bridge that gap and understand that, because the guy's a hooper, man. The guy is a hooper, but yeah, man.
I think what you just said at the end might be part of the problem for him. I think he needs to be less of a hooper, more of a basketball player. And I also think for his team, like what will be really important here is because again, we know how narratives and labels can stick, and you can end up with a mark on you because of your approach. I think where they're in this market now, they need to lower their expectations. This is not going to be a situation where like you're walking onto another team as a starter. I don't think. I think he needs to accept the fact that you know what, maybe the best way for me to be even this version of myself without having to change too much is accepting a role as like an impact player coming off the bench and someone that will come off and give you good production and go sit down and give the starters a rest rather than being a starter. Because I think again it's what you mentioned, he's a throwback player. There was a time where you could come on and your sole objective was to get a bucket,
Bro,
and
that's an all-star
that might
player,
have
bro.
made you an all-star. Yeah, that might have made
Yeah.
you an all-star doing that. But in this league, if you're a guard and you're not like even if you are a 6'9" guard, you're still expected to score and create. Like that is the bare minimum. You have to be able to score and create. And then there's the question of what you can do on the defensive side. And I think he just whilst he's rounding out that part of his game, he needs to accept, you know what, I'm not a starter in the NBA right now. That's just the way the league is. I'm I've got skills and I could be one day if I round those out. But again, I haven't seen many guards that start off as pure scoring guards that end up becoming like really good playmakers. That's a bit more rare. But regardless, he can round out his game. I just think he needs to accept, like, you know what, the next team I go to, they might not have they might not want me as a star. They might be willing to
Mm.
take me as a sixth or seventh man coming off the bench. And he needs to be okay with that. And I think if he is, there'll be a space for him in the league. If not, it might get tricky. And I hope it's not the case because I do like him as a player, but I think there's a bit of growing up to do that as well.
Yeah, man. It's tough though, man, because I think I look at the human side and it's like, man, we're all creatures of habit.
Yeah.
He's probably been told to play a certain way for 20 something years, and it's got him to the NBA. He's averaged 24 points per game in the NBA, and now they're telling him, we don't like the way you play so much, we're going to waive you. That's not what we were told. That's not what he was probably told. Like, raised on that Kobe kind of stuff and blah, blah, blah. And, you know,
But at the same time, I think that's the majority of players in the NBA, bro. Like the majority of those players, they were the best player in their city, in their state, maybe growing up. And it was only when they maybe got to college or they got to the NBA where all of a sudden, yeah, you're not that guy anymore. Like you're not that guy anymore. Think of how many guys grew up until the age of 18 and they had the ball in their hand all the time. They got the ball wherever they wanted, whenever they called for it. They were superstars wherever they came from. 5-star recruits, 4-star recruits all the way, like D1, all of this stuff, McDonald's High School, and then they get to the NBA and it's like, yeah, cool, you're the ninth man in the rotation. When you get on set screens, roll, catch and shoot, that's you, that's you. And like so many players have to make that. We've seen so many players have to make that adjustment. No, we've seen players have to do it late into their career as well. Like I mean, not a one-to-one example, but look at someone like a Brook Lopez. Brook Lopez in Brooklyn was not necessarily the guy because there were bigger names there, but in terms of production, he was the guy, arguably. And he went from having this very nuanced post bag where he could always score, and he goes to Milwaukee and it's like, all right, cool, we want you to stretch the floor. Chris Bosh
mm,
from Toronto to Miami, where it's
mm,
like you're one of the best fours in the league, and now you're stretching the floor and you're anchoring the defense, and it's like
yeah,
that's the nature of the league.
the
Unless you are the top,
sacrificing,
yeah, unless you're the top 1% of the top one
yeah,
percent, like
sacrifice for
you
the,
you're gonna have to
yeah,
change the way you play, you know, and yes, it's the harsh reality of it, really. And I get the
yeah.
human side. I get how tough it is to make that adjustment mentally, even, but got to, man, got to, because the rest of the league's gonna be looking at you and going, yeah, buddy, that's the game. That's exactly what this is. So get on board, or
It's sad to see someone of his talent on the buyout market, but let's see. I hope he gets picked up and hopefully by a contender. And he
yeah.
can add some spark and then get his name back up there. Other guys, maybe Lonzo's out there as well.
Mm.
CP3 is probably going to get weighed by the Raptors. Hayward Highsmith is a name
Yeah.
that some contending teams would like. Matisse Thybulle, who I just think the Lakers should be running at, personally.
Yeah.
But yeah, man. But we'll see what happens on the buyout market. You know, the NBA is a gift that keeps on giving, and that's now we're getting up to All-Star break. You know, let's see what happens. Anything is possible. But yeah, this has been another episode from your guys Joe and Sam on the Smokehouse Basketball Podcast. You know, thank you for watching. Like, share, subscribe. Let us know if there's any trades, any more, you know, maybe niche trades that we didn't pick up on that you liked. Let us know what you graded some of the trades. And look out for more episodes. Look out for some All-Star content on TikTok and Instagram, which I will link down below. But yeah, man, catch us next time. Thanks for listening.